was a racist incident involving his chief that later made national headlines. This happened in June. Surveillance video captured the chief of the Sheffield Lake Police Department putting a paper with the words Ku Klux Klan on Officer Keith Poole's raincoat. Now, Poole says this was only the beginning. Our lead national correspondent, David Bagno, traveled to Cleveland to sit down with Poole and has the story. Good morning to you, David.
Good morning to all of you. This officer was just 9 months into his job when this happened to him. Now, this was a police department that was formed 59 years ago, but they only hired their first black police officer in 2020, and it was Officer Keith Poole. He says the discrimination he faced at that department was part of a pattern that only became public when this was caught on camera.
This surveillance video, captured inside the Sheffield Lake, Ohio Police Department, caught the then police chief, Anthony Campo Sr., placing a paper on the raincoat of the only black police officer in his department. On it, the words Ku Klux Klan. 30 seconds later, that officer, Keith Poole, walked into the room.
People thought I was laughing about it. I wasn't laughing. I was distraught, like, what do I do with this man? He's sitting right there smiling.
Really?
He's like smiling. And are you serious? And then he tells everybody else to come look and see what he did.
What's going through your head?
It was so demeaning and destructive to me. I didn't know what else to do. If that wasn't enough, he sat there and he took a newspaper and shaped it into a hat of a cone and sat it there on his head like this and said, you need to wear one of these on your next call.
Like a Klansman?
Yes, a Klan's hat.
4 days after the incident, the police union requested a copy of the video captured on that city camera, and that put the city on notice. Mayor Dennis Bring confronted Chief Campo.
The chief was standing in his office and he made a joke, am I going to get fired over this? And I looked at the law director and I said, hand him his paper. And he said, after 30 years, this is what I get. And I said, you have 10 minutes to get out of your office.
Now, the chief was not fired. He reportedly said he was able to retire after 32 years at the department and 8 of those years as chief.
Are you Mr. Campo?
That doesn't matter.
We wanted to ask the former chief why, but we were asked to leave his property by a man who looked a lot like him.
Just want to help people. Just want to do my job. We always got to prove ourselves in this job. Being black, being a woman, they all got to prove themselves. It ain't fair.
Keith Poole has achieved distinction as an officer, serving 30 years in law enforcement, 8 of those years as a school resource officer.
To have this man poke at that, and these kids see that, and they say, well, what's going on with Officer Poole? Why is he doing that to him? That's only one man that tried to do damage, but he will not be able to damage me.
Poole and his attorney, Ashley Case Sletfold, alleged that there was a pattern of discrimination orchestrated by the former chief. Poole says when he asked the chief for a new patrol car, the chief sent him this picture of what he could get. The chief also allegedly posted this picture of Poole with the headline, Raccoon Reaper. And Poole claims the chief publicly posted this picture of a hot sauce bottle. On it, the face of the department's only Latino officer. Despite all of that, Officer Poole chooses to still work at that department.
Why would you want to stay at that department?
The department is not Tony Campbell. The department is what we make it. He was just part of the department. Now that he's gone, now it's going to be a department.
And things have gotten better?
And things have gotten a lot better.
Well, that's because there's a new police chief, and Officer Poole seems pretty happy about that. Mr. Poole has filed a complaint with the Ohio Civil Rights Commission. Next, he and his attorney plan to file a federal civil rights lawsuit against the city and the former chief. The former chief has not publicly denied what happened. The mayor says the chief told him he was just joking.
Joking and tone deaf. I'm so sick of people trying to hide behind, I was only kidding.
Right.
You could see the pain, the humiliation on Officer Poole. I so admire, A, that he's telling his story to us, and B, that he chose to stay, because he said that's not the whole department. That was just that one officer. But my heart aches looking at what he had to go through.
Yeah. And
From
there
a
are,
chief who thinks it's funny.
and there are people at home that might be watching this saying, well, you can't take a joke. It's just a joke. Why is it that people of color have to laugh at things that cause them pain? And in this situation, that's exactly what happened.
It occurred to me that no matter how old you are, you're never immune to feeling pain. He's 57, he's got 6 adult kids, and he said, David, it was so embarrassing for me to have this story be known by others.
You have to understand that this is America. In 2020, this was the first time they hired an African American officer. This police department in Sheffield, Ohio, should be turned upside down by the federal government, because over those 59 years, racism has permeated that department. How many young black males or black males in general end up being charged with a crime, or if not put in prison, because of this racist police department? You can't tell me that the people in that town, the people in that government didn't know that this Chief Campbell was a supreme racist and a race soldier. They should be held accountable for their actions, and I'm glad this black man, this black police officer, is filing a federal lawsuit and a civil lawsuit against this town and this department. But you have several towns all around this country who don't have black police officers, and they're able to run wild and arrest black men anytime as though they feel so. This guy, Chief Campbell, 32 years on the police force, with that racism and that evil in his heart, was going around threatening, arresting, and putting black men in prison. In every case that he ever touched should be turned upside down. A department like this doesn't just exist. This is the culture of the police department for 59 years, because they never got rid of Campbell. So how many officers in that department has the same mindset that former Chief Campbell has? What they need to do right now is turn that department upside down and maybe get rid of some of those other race soldiers that's still on that police department. There is no justice in that town if you have the head of the snake who is a supreme racist. The people in that town had to know his ideology, his thinking, and he still got that job. So they supported whatever he was doing. And this is not the first time he said jokes like this in public. When you feel so comfortable to put notes about the KKK and the things he did to this black police officer, he feel as though nothing should happen to him. Like everybody knew about how he felt about black people and minority people in general. So that town should be held accountable. This is sad to see a man who spent 30 years as a police officer, and when he joined this new police force, had to put up with this racism. This is nothing new to black police officers, but some of them still stay. I want to thank you for listening to Black Psych This Quick Take. I hope you subscribe to this channel, smash that like button, but also share this video.